All right, that finally finished. So one of the first things we want to do is have a look at the folder structure and the architecture of Metasploit itself, just to give you an idea of what kinds of directories and structures are part of the framework itself. So I'll make this a little bit bigger. And we're going to go to User Share Metasploit Framework. Oops, looks like I skipped past it there. My window's scrolling strangely. Sorry about that. A little bit of a problem there. It's probably just easier to start typing. There we go. So Metasploit Framework. You can see I've got several different folders here. I've got my app folder, which has a lot of pieces of the tools and framework that we'll look at later. A database folder, where of course we have our database that we'll be using to capture information, to save information. There's also folders for your scripts and different plugins, as well as several of the actual scripts that we run to use the tool itself. So the modules folder has just what it sounds like, all the modules that we'll be using for our various attacks and pen testing activity. So we have things like different exploits based on different operating systems, as you can see. We've got a folder with all the possible payloads, and we'll talk about what singles and what stagers are here in just a moment. There's also post-exploitation components and modules, so we'll see what that looks like at some point in the course. And then we have plugins. There's lots of different possibilities there. But your lib folder is the basic, all the libraries that the product is actually built from. And if you're extending it, or if you were doing certain kinds of contributions to the framework, you'd be more familiar with these from a programmer developer type of view. So a little bit more about modules. The tree, the primary tree for modules, is the folder that we looked at earlier. And we have to remember what exploits do. Some modules use exploits. So in the case of the Metasploitable system that we'll be doing a lot of our work against, where we'll be working primarily from this Linux folder and all these different categories of exploits. So some exploits will, involve Samba, for instance, or some might involve something to do with FTP. So we've got a lot of different choices, and depending on what kind of tools you're using, whether it's command line based or GUI based, you'll get a different ways to view all the different possibilities. We also have payloads, and the payload is the actual code that you deliver to the remote system. So frequently we'll try to get a Meterpreter shell or some other kind of a system command shell, because once you get that kind of access, you can do a lot more work, and we'll get to see some of the tactics and techniques involved in gathering additional information, trying to exploit known vulnerabilities based on the results of scans. A NOP is a no operation instruction, which is used to pad your payloads to make sure that they are sized appropriately, so that if you have any triggers based on different size files on the remote system, you can try to size them exactly right so that doesn't become suspicious. Also, we have the concept of the encoder, and what the encoders do is allow you to generate payload objects or generate objects that have payloads embedded in them and to encode them in such a way as to try to bypass the antivirus. And we'll look at some examples of how that works and some of the settings you can use to customize your payload to make sure that it tries to slip under the radar of the defenses of the pen testing target.